Hey beauty lovers and fellow entrepreneurs, I'm Yegi, the owner and founder of Yegi Beauty. Within 5 years of being my own boss, I was able to grow Yegi Beauty into a multi-million-dollar company. This podcast is where I share what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur in the beauty industry. Well, hi Madi, how is it going?
Hello, so good. Thank you for having me. I'm just so honored and excited to be here.
Well, I'm very excited to actually speak with you because here's a quick intro about Maddie to our listeners. And please excuse my voice. Yet again, I had caught a cold and I'm getting over it. Having toddlers just has been very fun with getting sick all the time. Let me introduce Maddie. I'm so excited to have her. She is actually a self-confidence coach, right? And you do a lot of work with individual, group, and also classes to help people basically be their best version without holding back, without having doubt to who they want to be. And I know that's a super quick intro. I'll let you tell everybody more about you. And it aligns so perfectly with the timing of the podcast because that's what we've been focusing on. I've realized that, that's kind of like the baseline initial thing you need to make sure you do, like love yourself, accept yourself, know who you are before you could even be successful in business, be successful in life and anything that you do. So please go ahead and tell our listeners who you are, what you do, how you got started, your story, and all of that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I told Yagi, I'm like, I feel so bad about her voice, but it's no problem because I talk a lot. And so I'm just going to take it away and tell you guys everything.
Yay!
But I love what you just said about, confidence kind of being that foundation. Because I truly do believe that confidence is connected to everything. Like it makes the world go round and it is, my highest value and my biggest passion to create more confidence in women because I really think that is what's going to change the world ultimately. And
I believe it.
our confidence is kept in our solar plexus chakra. And if you think about the solar plexus, solar, sun, what does all the planets in our galaxy revolve around, or, in our little solar system here, everything revolves around the sun. And when I kind of made that connection, my mind was just so blown because I had already felt that for so long that just everything revolved around our confidence. And then kind of that connection just really solidified it for me. I was like, yes, it just everything, whether it's money or relationships or just your peace and how you feel, comes to business. I did a business program 2 years ago. And after that, it was a good program, but I realized that people didn't really need to know the nitty-gritty of business and marketing. They needed confidence to just post and show up and be seen
and go for it too. I think it all plays a good role, but from everything, my research and everything I've learned, yes, that confidence is the key foundation. That's where you need to start.
Exactly.
But before we talk more about this, I forgot I like to ask icebreaker questions. So let's do that so people can get to know you too. So here's a fun one.
Okay.
What's the weirdest item you own or that you purchased?
What's the weirdest item? That's a good question. What is the weirdest item? Well, I purchase a lot of weird things, but they're not necessarily weird. I think they're cute, but in my life, I want everything to be cute. I can't just buy a normal bowl. It has to be heart-shaped, or my cat bowls are little cherries. My cat trees are cactuses, look like little cactuses and
cute.
flowers. I guess it's not weird. I'm trying to think of something weirder, but if I'm sharing something to get you to know about me, it's definitely that everything in my world is pink, cherries, Hello Kitty, My Melody, pink, furry, sparkly. I can't buy a normal fucking piece of furniture.
I love it. I love it. That's just you. That's what makes you happy. So that's great.
Exactly. I'm queen of stalking Amazon and going into the depths of Amazon and just finding the
So
cutest
does your
little
room look like a teenager room who loves pink?
That's me. And you know what? My stepmom the other day, she's like, I can't wait until we're all older and we look back at this stage of Maddie's life and we all are like, oh, remember how cute and eccentric Maddie was. I'm like,
No,
babe,
this is me.
this is not a phase. I don't think I'm going to get older and be like, oh, remember when I decorated like that? I imagine being 60 years old and still having all my pink dishes and pots and pans and
I love it. I love it so much.
yeah,
You know what you like, and that's very hard to find out sometimes, so that's great.
exactly. I know exactly what I like. Yeah, that's a great question. If I think of something else weirder, I'll
No,
mention
I
it.
think that's fun. It doesn't necessarily have to be super weird. Um,
Yeah.
okay, well, here's the last one. So, did you ever have a celebrity crush, and who was it and why?
Oh my gosh, celebrity crush. Well, I definitely went through my Justin Bieber phase when I was in junior high. Like I was yeah, we were crazy. So Justin Bieber for sure, but I also who is my celebrity crush? I don't think I necessarily have one because what's kind of funny about my love life and attraction, I feel like I go more for like personality and goofy rather than like stereotypically hot. Like that just doesn't really do it for me. So there's not really like a Channing Tatum for me and I'm like, "Oh my God, he's so hot." Like I'm
Because
really
you don't know
a
the celebrity's actual personality sometimes.
exactly. I'm like such a connection person, but I don't know if you've ever watched How I Met Your Mother.
Yes,
Um
yes, yes.
but
I love
yeah,
that show.
I was like in love with Ted for a little bit. Like I just yeah, like his personality, but he's like a character, you know. So that's
Yes,
my
yes.
character crush.
That's fine. That works. Yeah, that's fun. I love it. Yeah, actually, I was obsessed with that show when I was single and I really wanted to find love. I think it was just so fun to watch, like his struggle, and you would relate to it. So,
Totally. Yeah, I am absolutely
definitely.
obsessed with that show. I've probably watched every episode at least 20 times. No
Yes, and
exaggeration.
Barney's so funny, like all of their different like friend groups, and I think just any show that brings like a good group of friends together is my type of thing too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's so good.
Okay, so let's get back to business. So, so fun. So tell us your story. So how did you get started in this line of work?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. So how did I get started in this line of work? So I grew up in Utah. I actually currently live in Salt Lake City. I just moved back here a couple months ago to like just really ground down and be closer to family. But before I moved back here, I said I would absolutely never, ever, ever move back to Utah ever. Like not in a million years. I hate this place. And it was because I didn't have the best experience growing up here. I did grow up Mormon. I think, you know, one of the stereotypes about Utah is that everyone is Mormon, and it's true in certain parts of it, right? Salt Lake City has really uh, made huge changes and is becoming a lot more diverse. And, you know, we have like there's a whole community here that isn't Mormon and is a lot better. It's getting better. But a little bit north of Salt Lake City is Kaysville, or I like to call it Mormonville. That is where I grew up. And yeah, I grew up Mormon until I was like 19. And I'm going to share a little bit about my experience with that, like being in that religion. But I like no shame to the religion, or, you know, I'm not trying to get canceled here. Like if you're still in the Mormon church, like no hate, no shame. This is just like my experience with it. And being in the community in Utah was just not supportive for my journey. The Mormon church is a little bit wild. They have some really strict rules that for me just didn't make sense. And so growing up as a teenager, I was like trying to find myself, and it like I found that everything that I enjoyed and everything that I was drawn to was pretty much something that would essentially send me to hell, and like I wasn't going to be able to be with my family forever in heaven. And so like I get to be 15 and me and my best
Well,
friend
and
like
you
start.
know, we're still in the American culture too, so it's like different. It's hard when you see, you know, TV, the ideal like teenager versus like what maybe your religion is telling you what's right or what's wrong.
Exactly. I started liking different shows. I started enjoying coffee. I started enjoying rap music. I started enjoying certain fashion styles that maybe showed my stomach a little bit. And I liked little mini skirts. And it didn't feel like this rebellious thing to me where I was like, you know, fuck the church. I'm like rebelling and I want to dress scandalous. it was like, this is actually an expression of who I am. Like, I feel really good when I wear
Yeah,
this
you didn't feel
clothing.
like you were doing anything wrong. You were just following what you wanted.
I felt like I was being myself. Like, I wanted like a nose piercing, and I wanted like I just felt, it felt authentic. It felt like I
Mhm.
was being myself, exactly. But then over and over again, right, I'm told like that's not who you should be. Like, you should be like this, you should dress like this, like everything you do is wrong. I've had a whole journey with like guilt in my life, just experiencing
I can
guilt because I
imagine
just
that.
felt
It's very, very, very difficult. I come from a background of like pretty strict parents too. So I see that. Like even now looking back, certain things that I know what I did, I didn't do anything wrong. But the
yeah.
way I felt at that moment, the way my parents made me feel was like I was the worst person in the world. And mind you, like looking back, I was still such a good, innocent person.
Exactly, exactly. And I didn't actually fully see how much that experience impacted me until maybe these past like 2 years, even. Because I'm about to turn 26 and I left the church when I was like 18, 19. So it hadn't even been that long. It was just like these past 2 years that I was like, oh my God, I'm seeing all these little connections in how I view myself, and how it's kind of was connected to that part of my life, and just, yeah, feeling guilty for being who I was. And so, I think I was hiding myself for a lot of my teenage years. Like if I went to my boyfriend's house, my boyfriend at the time, like I would have to take a change of clothes and like put my modest clothes on, and I had like a septum ring, I had to like flip it up. It was like I was always hiding who I was. And you can't love yourself if you're not even being yourself. And so I think because I wasn't being myself, it really sent me down this dark path, amongst other things, and just being a teenager and growing up. And I feel like I was kind of the first generation to really get on the internet in terms of like Tumblr and Instagram. Like, I wish I was a part of MySpace. MySpace just has good energy vibes. But I was like on Instagram trying to gain a following and looking at pictures on Tumblr of like the thigh gap, and like there was just so many things that I ended up just going to a really dark place with my self-worth and my confidence, obviously. And
Yeah,
so,
because
yeah,
honestly, we're all affected so much, and I love to address that. We're all affected so much with all the media and everything we see, especially when we're younger, and we
Mhm.
don't have that confidence. It's easy for us to let things get to us, especially if, your community is telling you that you're not living correctly or you're not the right person. So if you mess with
Yeah.
your confidence, that's when all the outside media and everything can get to you. And that's why for me now, I'm a mother myself, so I try really hard. I'm like, okay, I need to make sure I raise my kids, of course, with what I think is right, but
Yes.
also just to have the confidence that no matter what, like they're loved and they're fine, they're doing nothing wrong.
Totally. And I admire that so much. And that's honestly why I want to be a mother, like, so bad. Like, that's definitely in my path, I hope, because I think this generation, like what we all went through, like, we're just going to be such good parents to our kids. And
Yes,
so,
I think just as time changes too, like I'm sure that's how our parents felt about their parents. It's just
totally.
the world and how we all evolve, and there's always generational gaps. So I'm like, watch, like 15 years from now, my teenager, I'm like, Mom, you
Totally.
are holding me back.
I
But
mean, you can't do it all right. Like, that's the one thing that will like stress me out about parenthood, is like, you want to be the perfect parent. You can never be the perfect parent, but
no.
I do think we're really going to be, yeah, inspiring
that
this
and
next
that
generation to be
piece of
themselves.
the confidence is really key, and that's why I love what you're doing, and I think a lot of young adults too can really benefit from that too.
Yeah.
I think I wish like schools required for people to go through a course like this when they're teenagers. So that's why I really,
Yeah.
really love what you're doing. So sorry, go ahead and tell us more.
No, no, you're totally good. I totally agree. I've actually thought about that, of like taking my signature confidence program and transforming it into something that I can offer to like high school, like women in high school, or even starting as young as junior high. Like my sister is 14. She's about to go into high school. And I even just see the way her confidence is affected. And I know she has to go through her own journey, but I'm definitely like a little hard on her sometimes. Not hard on her, but
Well,
like,
she's lucky to have you to guide
yeah,
her.
I try to like push her and like she'll say something. I'm like, don't say that. Like, say this instead, trying to already help her kind of like shift into, being that confident woman at a young age. But yeah, to continue on with my journey. So I got to this dark place. Obviously, it was like in this truly like self-hatred. Even as dark as like I didn't understand why I was here on this planet, didn't really want to be here. Like I just hated myself. Even someone asked me on a podcast the other day, she was like, what did you want to be growing up? And I was like, or she said, did you ever imagine you were like, did you know you were going to be an entrepreneur? Did you know you were going to be like this powerful businesswoman? And I was like, absolutely not, because I didn't think I could even like pass a test. I didn't even think that I could, get like find love. Like I didn't even think I was worthy of anything for a really long time. And then I found music festivals. Back then it was more like raving. Like I started going to like raves with the candy and the plur and all the things. And that literally changed my life. And I think a lot of people, like music festivals are becoming more mainstream now and more known, and they're becoming more popular. And I think the paradigm is really shifting. But when I started going to raves, everyone was like, oh, you're just going to like party and do drugs type of thing. That wasn't it at all for me. I stepped into this space in this community, in the EDM community, and I had finally found an environment where I could 100% be myself with
Oh wow.
nobody
I
holding me
haven't
back.
I haven't heard like the point of view like that you found a community in it. That's great.
Oh my gosh, like it was night and day difference from going from a Mormon community to the rave community. It was like I was trying to be put in a box, and then the rave community literally like came with their hammers and like broke down that box. And I could dress how I wanted, I could talk how I wanted, I could do my makeup like I wanted, I could dance like I wanted, I could like anything I wanted, and there was no
Nobody cares.
judgment, there was only love. And when you're in a place where you can fully explore who you actually are, you don't have parents or friends or a boyfriend or anybody, even energetically, like just an energy around you that you should be a certain way, that is when you can fully thrive. That is when you can fully find self-love and confidence. And of course, that's not realistic for everybody. Like, if your parents are kind of judgmental, it doesn't mean like shun your parents completely and, like never talk to them again. But finding the boundaries and then being able to find community where you do have a space to fully be yourself with no judgment, that was the most powerful thing that I could have gone through. So I started on that journey, started going to all the festivals. I met my partner. I met like my best friends in the world. And that eventually led me to Los Angeles, where I met a woman who was a fashion designer. And I was her personal assistant for a little over 2 years, I think. And she just taught me everything about business. And so I kind of started learning about business and went through this like confidence transformation simultaneously. And then it
Isn't
was
that
almost like when my
crazy?
training was,
Honestly, I'm gonna use that for the pot, like for our listeners to kind of like make sure they understand that part. Just the reason alone that you were so close with your boss who was a great example for you, changed who you were. So I love
yeah,
that so much because people sometimes don't realize how important it is to surround themselves with the right people in order
yes.
for them to grow, in order for them to become the people that they want to become. So I love that that happened to you, and you're like a living example of that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, thank you for like reiterating that and expanding on that, because 1000%, like I even tell some of my girls that are just starting in business and they expect these fast results, or they're like, why am I not where you're at, or why am I not, at this place yet? And I always like to like be super transparent about my journey. I was so blessed to be able to work that closely with this woman. Like it being able to show up every single day at her house and shadow her and like follow her around in her life and be her assistant and take on different tasks and learn the ins and outs of, a huge business, that it created me, honestly. Like
That's
still to this day, I'm
amazing.
like, who, yeah, I'm like, who would I be without her? So If you're not seeing the transformation that you want in your business, or you feel like you're not like at the caliber that you want to be, I just think mentors are so important, and especially in-person mentors. Of course I preach online coaching. That is what I do, and I love online coaching. And if you can, if you just want to do online, like, that's amazing. But if you can find community in person, whether it's a mentor or, a yoga studio or women's circles, retreats, anything that you can do in person to actually be in the energy of the people that you want to be like, that will absolutely transform
Would you
your life.
say that you're more spiritual now, or do you practice any different religions, or what's your take on that? 'Cause I hear you saying energy quite a few times, so I'm curious what your beliefs are now in regards to that.
Yeah. Oh, I'm very spiritual now. So when I first got out of the church, the Mormon church, I was like full blown atheist. I was like, God doesn't exist. A higher power doesn't exist. Like, I believe in science. I wanted to be like as far away from religion as I could. I don't think I even knew what spirituality like even was at the time. And then my dad gave me A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, and I started reading that while I was working with my mentor in LA, and she's also very spiritual, and so I kind of also went through a spiritual awakening at that same time as I was like building my business. So I'm very, very, yeah, spiritual in the technical sense.
Awesome. Now, let's go back to your story. So you were an assistant for this fashion designer, right, with the company. What happened next? How did you launch your business? How did you know this is what you really wanted to do?
Yeah. So once it kind of felt like once my training was done, like quote unquote training, like she taught me so much, and I was like running her whole business. I kind of realized, like, I love her. I would have worked for her forever, but I had grown so much that I was like, why am I working so hard for someone else's dream when like I could do this for myself. I could create my own business. And so, yeah, I started playing with the idea of creating my own business since I was pretty much running another one. I was pretty confident in myself. And yeah, but I didn't know I wanted to be a coach. I kept playing around with different ideas. I was going to do like a jewelry business. I was going to do like fitness coaching because I was really into like weightlifting at the time. I had all these different ideas for businesses, and like none of them would stick. And then I had like a little epiphany. I was listening to You Are a Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero, and she said something. I wish I could remember what, but she said something that clicked in me. And I was like, I'm going to be a life coach. Like, period, dot. It was done. I remember I was working and I like clocked out of work, ran to my computer, and in that moment, I signed up for a life coaching certification. I bought my microphone for my podcast. Like, once it landed for me, it was like an epiphany moment. I've never had any other moment like this, or it was just,
I love those. I've had quite a few of those, and I love when that happens. It's just everything finally gets clear.
it was nothing but clarity. I was just like, this is it. And yeah, from there, the rest is history. I've been coaching for over 3 years. And like you said, I do like high level one-on-one business coaching. I do group coaching for confidence in women. I have a membership that's the Confidence Collective. I have 2 podcasts now. I do all sorts of retreats, in-person events, like anything regarding personal development. I do it.
So tell everybody where they can find you and all that information. I mean, I still have a lot of questions for you, but since we talked about all that you have to offer, I think it'd be a good time to mention it.
Yeah, I'll totally mention it. So I'm mostly on Instagram. I do have TikTok, but I have mixed feelings about TikTok. So find me on Instagram. It's Madi Maple, Madi, Maple like the syrup. And then, yeah, I have a podcast called Breaking Butterfly, which is kind of I'm shifting it into kind of like my personal podcast. Like, I talk a lot about lessons from my life. I also give tips on confidence, talk about abundance, manifestation. But yeah, it's just kind of like my main Instagram to hang out, or sorry, my main podcast that I hang out on. And then I just launched a podcast called Making Money with Madi, which is like my business podcast. And it's just like a very no bullshit, short and sweet podcast of like all my tips on growing a coaching business. And then, yeah, my retreats and my in-person events are where I am spending my most of my time and energy right now. Like I said, I'm just feeling so passionate about in-person community. I kind of mentioned that.
And they can find the information about the retreats and everything on your website.
Yeah, I mean, mostly my Instagram. I just
Instagram.
post.
Okay, so everything's on Instagram.
Yeah, I like post everything on my Instagram. I actually don't think I have anything about my retreats on my website, which I should do
You
that.
probably should do that.
I
It's like
probably
for
should do that.
something like that, it's kind of a bigger commitment. Like I would personally want to go on a website and read more about it, you know. So that'll be like a nice
Totally.
little extra business.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I have a sales page for my Costa Rica retreats that we send to girls, but the
oh,
my
fun.
my process of signing up people for events is very, very personable for me. So it's actually not something that I would want somebody to find through a sales page. I want someone
Oh,
to
love
be
it.
connected to me and my energy and um, that kind of thing. It's a very
Well,
personal.
explain a little bit more about that. So I guess that kind of ties to like the term of like your marketing strategy,
Yeah.
but yours is more organic or how you're doing it. So what's your take on that and how are you approaching that to get your clients?
Totally. So there is no right or wrong in business. And so all of the things you hear always like take with a grain of salt, right?
I
And also,
totally agree on that.
yeah,
100% agree.
yeah, because so many people that are starting their business, they can get so caught up in, they see someone that really inspires them and they're like, oh my God, I want to be like them. I want to create what they're creating. How are they creating it? Okay, I should do it like that too. And that is just not the truth. Like, you have to do what is so authentic for you and what feels so good. And what's interesting is actually so many things are changing in my business right now of like how I do things, but pretty much from the beginning of my business, it's been like very, very organic, very, very personable. Like, I believe that creating relationships is the key to business. It is the key to creating an audience, to having engagement, to selling your offers, literally everything. Like, creating relationships is everything. So I spent like the first 2.5 years of my business just creating community, being in the DMs, helping people, just this selfless service and relationship building was everything. And that's how yeah, pretty much I've just had so much success in my business. I've never spent like a dollar on advertising. It's all been this really beautiful, organic.
Relationship building on Instagram mainly. That's what it sounds like.
Yes, mainly on Instagram. And then, of course, I use TikTok to bring people into my Instagram. And my podcast brings in a lot of people. But then Instagram is where, yeah, I kind of like hang out. I'm always doing polls and reaching out to people, always creating freebies, free masterclasses, free ebooks, like anything I can do to, if someone is in the DMs and they're like, hey, I need help with this, I'll literally make an ebook with all of my, tips and details
Oh, I
and
love that.
send it to everyone. And yeah, I've just always wanted to just like help and chat and like all
And
the
I think
things.
that's why it works so well for you because you're doing it from your heart and this is what you really
Ex-
want to do.
exactly. So when I was, in that place, it was fully from my heart. I was like, just fully in it. And so for me, it's like, I do love the masculine marketing strategies and I love things like, copywriting and sales strategy and all of those fun things. But ultimately, if you really believe in what you're selling and you are showing up and being your best self and actually caring about the people that want to work with you, that's all you really need. Have a fucking amazing offer, believe in it, tell people that you have the
Last full
offering,
time, yeah.
and help them and be your best self. That's organic marketing, right?
Yes. Okay,
Um,
so here's a question I think we kind of left the story half. We talked about you were when you were in a very dark place because I know sometimes not sometimes a lot of people go through that. So how did you get out of that space?
yeah, so it really was honestly finding music festivals for me, like
Oh,
is
that's
what.
right. You mentioned that just going to one and then seeing like how it uplifted you and it became your happy place.
Exactly. But amongst other things, right? I definitely started getting into the mindset work and journaling and reading self-help books, and I kind of became like a personal development junkie. Like I was listening to all the podcasts, reading all the books. Like I was just, especially after
So
reading A New
what's
Earth by Eckhart Tolle.
oh, that book. So would that be the book that you would say is the okay, if you could recommend one book to our listeners, which book would it be?
I love that you ask this because if anybody in the world has a 10-minute conversation with me, I will mention this book. I make all of my clients read it. I make everyone in my life read it. And it is The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. Have you read it?
I think I have that book. I haven't read it yet, but I think I have it. I have like a stack of books that I still want to read. I haven't gotten to, and I think
Yeah.
that's one of them. But I'm gonna write it
Yeah.
down again just in case.
Read that book. That book has been like the most life-changing for me, hands down. Like it, yeah, I recommend it to anyone. It really explains how this world works and emotions and gets into it. Yeah, I could talk about it for 15
Yes,
minutes, so I'm
yes,
not
that's
going
a
to.
whole other podcast. But yeah, make sure you guys check out her podcast. I'm sure she talks about it on there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Plenty. But I'm excited to read it. I'm curious if I have it or if I need to purchase it. But it's definitely one on my to read list.
Yes.
Thanks for
Yes, it
sharing
should
that.
be.
Okay, so here's another question. So, what was the biggest challenge for you while you were starting and growing your business? And yes, what was your biggest challenge? And how did you get through it?
Yeah, I would say that my biggest challenge was comparison for sure. I got really tripped up on comparison. And also, I kind of mentioned this already, but like taking advice too seriously from other coaches on the internet. Like, if you're trying to build your business right now and you feel overwhelmed, unfollow every single coach on Instagram or just mute them for the time being. I promise you it will do you wonders for your mental health. You do not need to be reading everyone's post of like, this is how you should do business. No, this is how you should do business. And this is how I did my business. And this is how much money I made without
Yeah, even
this,
just
with,
the clutter of information is draining and
yeah.
exhausting, and it's hard to not let it get to you sometimes.
Exactly. It's so exhausting, so confusing. And I think that I wasted so much. I didn't waste it. It was an important part of my journey, but I spent so much time and energy just looking at other people and then feeling like shit about myself.
And
And
every single person does that. I've done that. I'm guilty of doing that in the past. But we need to really just be aware of it and just put an end to it.
yeah, well, the thing that changed my life pretty much and is one of the core principles of what I teach in my confidence building program is to accept who you are not and amplify who you are. And that statement for me has been the most transformative and has created the most peace in my life. Um,
I
because
love that.
accept who,
Actually, that's very, very well put in just one sentence.
yeah, and it was actually like downloaded to me. Like I remember, like I'm very like clairaudient. Like I'll just like hear things, and I like heard that. I was like, accept who you're not, amplify who you are, and yeah, what it truly means is if someone is better at creating content than me, instead of feeling sad about it and be like, oh, my content sucks, no, like I accept that I'm not the best content creator. I think a lot of people think that confidence and self-love is about like thinking you're fucking
Yes.
amazing and yeah, and loving every single thing about yourself and like feeling like you're the best. No, confidence is knowing that you're not the best and still feeling like a badass and still
Yes,
feeling
accepting your flaws.
exactly. And so, once I started just accepting, like, yeah, she fucking kills it. Like, she's kind of better at business than me, or she's prettier than me, or she's skinnier than me, her marketing's better than me, her sales page is better than mine. Okay, can I just accept that? And
Yes,
then,
I think the next phrase after that I would add, so what? It
yeah.
doesn't mean anything.
And so what? Exactly. It's like if anything, it's just to create peace in your life. Like I've just found so much peace by being like, all right, and so what? like I even when I was going through my darkest time like in high school outside of business and I was just so like I just hated myself. That's when I first heard that phrase of like accept who you're not. You're not the prettiest, smartest, funniest, most popular. Can you accept it? And so what? It literally does not even fucking matter. It only
And
matters to our
there's
ego.
always better. There's always better. There always will be better. So you can't
Hmm.
just focus on being number one because that's not even defined. And it's all our perception, you know. Um,
Yeah. Yeah,
but
it
I love how
literally
you put that phrase. I think it puts a lot of things in perspective.
exactly. And it's something I have to remind myself time and time again because I would be lying if I said I never felt comparison ever again, you know? Like I probably felt it last week a little bit when I saw
Yeah.
a coach I really look up to and she was sharing a win and I was like, "Oh my God, fuck, what am I doing?" And I was like, "I'm just doing my thing." Like props to her. I'm celebrating her. I fucking love her. And like I'm going through my own process and I'm just amplifying
Yes.
who I am, continuing to find what I'm good at and what my strengths are and also what feels good to me because a lot of times what when we compare ourselves to others, we say, "Oh, I want this thing," but we actually don't want that thing. And so a lot of confidence is finding your actual authentic desires because for me, like I would see people with like more I really wanted to grow my following for a long time, like I wanted more followers and I would like look at other accounts and like their account would be growing and I would feel so jealous. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? Then I realized I actually don't want to grow my audience at all. Like, I don't want more followers. I don't want more eyes on me. I want enough followers that I can create the experiences that I want. But, like, I don't want this big following. And a lot of times,
Yeah, you
even
don't want to be an influencer, you're a coach. You want to support the community and the people that is right for you, not just the general public.
exactly. And yeah, and once actually see clearly, like, we get down on ourselves for things that we don't actually want. It's kind of
Yeah,
hilarious,
so
honestly.
I guess step one would be like really pay attention to what you really want first before being mad about it, sad about it.
Exactly. And even the transformation I'm going through in my own business now of like when you asked like, what was the biggest struggle at the beginning of my business, I think it's powerful to share my biggest struggle now is like I've gone through a really hard time in my business over the past like 6 to 8 months. I went through a breakup. I've been having like health issues. I lost my passion. I lost my inspiration. I lost my drive, my motivation. Like anything that gets you out of bed in the morning, like I felt like I just lost it. I was lost, confused. Yeah, having all these hormone gut issues. It was just, I was a mess.
Sorry you're going through
Um,
that.
no, yeah, I mean, I feel amazing right now. I just had like an amazing experience in Costa Rica and I found so much clarity because I've
Good.
realized that I was, again, I wasn't, I was comparing myself, but in a different way. It was like I was comparing myself to other businesses and thinking that, oh, it needs to look this way in terms of like, it's not necessarily that I felt they were better than me. I just was like, I need to have more structure in my business. I need to be professional. I need to like, all of these things I just felt like I needed
Of
for
course.
growth, which I don't
It's
know. I just went through
true,
this
yeah.
whole thing. Yeah, and then I remembered all over again. It's like you always learn the same lessons all over again.
You do, you
But
do. We all have like
yeah,
one or two like things that are truly our weaknesses. If we pay attention and look back, we'll see that we do continue making those same mistakes until hopefully one day we learn.
exactly, exactly. And I had this like just super amazing experience in Costa Rica a couple weeks ago,
Was
and
that part of your retreat that you were doing in Costa Rica, or this was something for you solo?
yeah, so actually I was attending a retreat and a music festival. So my co-host that I host with, she also does retreats for content creators.
Oh, I
Um,
love that.
Yeah, so that's how I met her. I was like a content creator on her retreat, and then we decided to start creating together as well and
Oh,
become
that's
partners.
great. That's great. It's so good to have somebody to share the same vision with.
Exactly. Oh, I'm so grateful for her. Yeah, she's definitely my soul sister. But
No.
Yeah, but yeah, I was there and we had like this workshop about human design, and I was like reminded about just being a generator and how you have to do things that light you up, and you have to do it in your way, and how like you have to do what you want, when you want, and how you want to. And yeah, it just reminded me all over again of it. Like I was like, what do I actually want? I was trying to create a vision that I realized I don't actually want that. I want my cute little cozy business. I want to make, just this really comfortable amount. And like I'm kind of pushing away from the boss bitch paradigm. I don't want to be a boss bitch CEO. I want to be a peaceful bitch. I want to be peaceful. I want to be I want to be comfortable. Like, yes, I go out of my comfort zone, but I want to be comfortable. I want to be safe. I want to be loved. I want to be peaceful. I want to be balanced. I want to be healthy. Like, there's just so many other things I want. And when you're looking outside of you, you can just get so tripped up in,
Yes.
I want all this success. Do I actually want that success?
Yes,
And
and
once
I
I
think
found that I didn't, that really was everything for me.
And I love that you talk about that as again a real life example, because there was another podcast I talked about that, and I said, we really need to know what we want, because a
Yeah,
lot of times it's so easy to get distracted with outside like shiny items and thinking, okay, that's what I want. Do I really want the boat? Do I really want the huge house? It's more house to manage, more house to clean. So you need to figure out what's right for you.
exactly.
And I think we all need to like kind of stop and think sometimes. And I think my transition, I feel like, is taking longer since I put kids in the picture. I feel like I changed too. So I've been having
Mhm.
like a transition for this 2 years, like shifting and trying to figure out my
Yeah.
new balance, my new desires, my new wants. Because before I was all about that, like I want to, be a multimillionaire. I wanted to have like all the extravagant things. I love luxury, but I love to
Yep.
help people. So then now I'm like revisiting that. And I think a recent episode, that's what we talked about. Like, is that really important, or is simplifying better? Like, do we really need
Yes.
more? So I totally love that you shared your story, because sometimes we get tricked into thinking we want something, but if we just really say, I don't want it, and we let it go, everybody's so much happier, especially us.
Exactly. And also, I think it's really important to note that, yeah, like your wants are always going to change. Like, I feel like we have this pressure to find, like, this is my one person. Like, this is my one passion. This is my one business. Like, we're
Yeah,
just
but
so
we're
taught.
evolving.
Yeah, we're so taught to like have this one thing. And you know what? Yeah, for a couple months there, I woke up every day and was like, I'm going to be a multimillionaire. And then like 2 months ago, I was like telling my boyfriend, I was like, I think I want to quit my business and I just want to have a family. So like, let's have a kid. Like,
Yeah,
I want to just be a mom. And then I went to this music festival and I was like, I'm not ready to be a mom. Like, I want to create my own festival. And then I wake up other days and I'm like, it gets to
yeah.
change. So your desires changing doesn't mean that you don't know what you want. It means that you want a lot of different things and you get to play with it, right? It's not so black and white. Like if you want this thing, you don't want anything else. No, you can want this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing. And then you get to play with how
Yeah.
can you,
But don't you think
combine
that
them
gets
or
really, oh yeah, you can try to combine it, and I'm like that. I like you said, that doesn't necessarily mean like you don't know what you want. So I think that's a very tricky, like fine line, and I think every person's situation would be so different. But yeah, I go through those phases too where I'm like, do I like, I'm pretty fine tuned to what I know what I want, but even within that like fine tune, I try to do different avenues all the time. But
yeah.
I guess that's the real question, is that a problem? I don't know actually what I want. Do I need to spend more time like digging deep and figuring out what I actually really want? Or is it okay to just make up my mind, work on that one thing now, give it a year, let's say, for example? Because I'm also a big believer that sometimes like we need to push through. A lot of times we change our mind when things are not working exactly the way we want them, and that's almost like a test. Like I believe that, I feel like that's almost a test to be like, okay, do you really want it, and how bad do you want it? Are you going to push through the struggle? So if it's the right thing, that the right path you're on, you will push through it and you will get through it. But if you're on the wrong path, more than likely that's when we change our minds and we switch gears. So I think that's kind of what I've realized with my own experience, and I think people should pay attention to that, like, key. If you're trying to change gears, you're probably not super clear, and you're not probably doing you're probably not doing exactly what you really want.
Yeah. Yeah,
And it's okay to
exactly.
pivot and try different things until you find your thing.
Exactly. Yeah, I just think it's so toxic to think like you should just know your purpose by now and you have this one purpose. And that's why I honestly love human design so much, is because it really does give you a permission slip to be yourself and like work how you work, right? Because, like manifesting generators, they're not supposed to do just one thing. Like you're literally not designed to be like that. And society is trying to push you to like know what you want and just go after that one thing. And it's just not helpful or supportive. And same with the whole like kind of like discipline thing. I don't really believe in like discipline. There's a big difference between wanting to do something and then like having to do it even when it's hard, and then not wanting to do something and like pushing yourself to do something you don't want to do.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah, I'll
because there's,
elaborate on that. So I think a big thing I recently like read on I love self-help books too. I always am reading to like keep my mind fresh and be on top of everything. But one thing I remember reading recently was that is, if we're trying to do something and we really don't want it, that's when it's work. That's when we have to manage. That's when we have to push and be disciplined. But if you're inspired, so that's the difference. If you're motivated versus inspired, those are two things. So after I learned that, I never wanted to be motivated again, because if I have to be motivated, that's temporary. I have to keep getting motivated to do this task. But if I'm really inspired, and I know I love what I'm doing, I don't need any motivation at all. I'm just going to want to do it. And a great example would be like me on this podcast today. I know I love it because I am not feeling the greatest, and I didn't want to like strain my voice since it's gone. But I was like, no, like I really want to do it. Like I love this guest that we're going to have. Like I want to get to know her more. And I think like that's what we need to pay attention to. Am I like, if I find myself keep needing motivation and encouragement and discipline to do
yeah,
whatever I decided I'm going to focus on, even in my job, even in like a 9 to 5 job, if you feel like your boss needs to keep like pushing you and begging you to get your tasks done, or you feel like you're like dreading it, then that's probably not the right job for you. You should look for another job where you're inspired to create, you're inspired to contribute to the company and all that fun stuff.
yeah, I love that. That difference between inspired and motivated. That's really good.
Yes. Well, I literally can talk to you about this topic forever, but and we are getting close to our time. Can you tell our listeners your best advice that you've ever been given?
The best advice I've ever been given: trust your intuition. I think it's like a very kind of basic cliche one, but that's like one that is
I
affecting me the
love
most
that.
right now.
What is one thing most people don't know about you or your brand?
Mm, what is something people don't know about me or my brand? I feel like I'm a pretty
Open book?
open book. I'm like, I kind of share everything.
Yeah, if nothing comes to you right now.
I'm like, I'm such an open book. Everyone knows everything about me.
I love that, honestly, especially, when you are like on social media and a podcast, like it's kind of hard, like when you do share a lot. It's like, what do people don't know about me?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so next question is, what is your favorite part about being an entrepreneur and your least favorite part?
My most favorite part of being an entrepreneur, I think it's pretty needless to say, is like the freedom, but not only freedom of like my time and my location, but also freedom to fully be myself. I see a lot of my friends who have jobs, they like can't post certain things on Instagram, or like they can't like do certain things in case like their coworkers see or whatever. Like there's always kind of this limit of like having to keep up an appearance like at your job. And I love that like I can be so authentic. I definitely post pictures of my ass all the time on my Instagram, and I'm like still like a high level business coach. And so I really like being able to be, yeah, my full authentic
Be
self and
all of
still
you.
be, yeah, I'm like
Every
the most unprofessional professional ever.
I love that. Honestly, I think we all have like different personalities. We do. Like we have our professional serious side, we have our silly side, we have our like bad side, we have all that, and like I still feel sometimes like I need to hold back in certain things on social media because I do have my image too, and I've
Mm,
always been like pretty like I don't know, I feel like professional and mentor like. So that does, even now I think that's a little challenge I have. Sometimes I hold back about my personal life, about my silly side, about
yeah.
like my sexy side. I try to tone it down, but like the more I think about it, the more, and I also try to hold back about sometimes like the things I say. I'm like, am I gonna offend anybody? And that's been
Yeah.
so hard now. This, I'm like, I love everybody. I don't judge, but do I need to hold back? Like, can I just be fully myself? So I think that's something that I'm currently working on too. No matter how
Mm.
overall, I think I'm pretty confident. I don't really care what people think. I do like say what I want for the most part. But even then, like that authenticity of being 100% yourself is so hard. And yeah, that's a challenge I'm working on now.
Totally. I mean, even for me, I'm a very authentic, confident person, but there were parts of myself that I was hiding for a long time when it came to like expression and dance and movement. Like I do have a silly side, but I also always wanted to be seen as like cool and like, you know what I mean? Like I never wanted to like make a fool of myself. And I've been working through that a ton these past,
Yeah, and
yeah,
I
almost
think
two
it's
years
nice to
now.
hear, and I think it's nice for everybody to hear to know, we're not alone. Everybody literally is going through that struggle.
Yeah. Oh yeah, forever. We'll go through it forever. But that's the
Okay,
journey.
so let's get into more of your specialty questions. So you also focus and teach and educate a lot on imposter syndrome, and I know a lot of people struggle with that. Can you talk a little bit about it?
Yes, I would love to talk about imposter syndrome. This is, yeah, one of my favorite things to talk about. Because imposter syndrome is, it doesn't need to, it doesn't need to exist. It's honestly really anything that our brain creates to stop us and to self-sabotage us is just a made up thing so that we stop moving forward, so that we don't become, so we don't get into a
Uncomfortable.
vulnerable position where we might get hurt. So whether it's like procrastination, perfectionism, imposter syndrome, self doubt, limiting beliefs, whatever it is for you that's stopping you from moving forward, it really has no validity to it whatsoever. It's just what your brain is latching onto to stop you from getting into action so that you don't experience failure or rejection or whatever. So it really has no validity. And the most important thing I want to share about imposter syndrome is that imposter syndrome can only exist if you're trying to be someone you are not, right? So if you are a brand new coach and you're feeling like an imposter, it's probably because you're trying to show up on social media or show up to potential clients like you've been doing this for a year and like you know exactly what you're doing, and you're trying to paint yourself as someone who is farther along than you actually are. And that's what makes you feel like the imposter. But when you are so raw and transparent and authentic, like that is the most empowering thing you can do. And imposter syndrome literally doesn't
I think
exist
it's
when you
the
just
most
be,
freeing thing, not only the most empowering thing, and I think that's the most freeing thing we can do so that we're not so stressed about anything else or 100% authentic.
mm, well, and your client is going to admire way more. If they're your very first client, they're going to admire you. If you say, "Hey, I'm just starting out. I'm going to give you a beta price because you're my very first client. I'm so excited to like continue my skill, like learning skills and getting better as a coach like while I work with you. Yeah, here's like a little beta price. Like you're my very first client." They would much rather you say that than you show up and be like, yeah, like, I've been coaching for a couple months and like I know exactly what I'm doing. No, just tell them you have no idea what the fuck you're doing. if I'm on a group coaching call and someone asks me a question and I don't know the answer, the only way imposter syndrome can exist is if I try to act like I know the answer. No, I don't need to do that. I literally will tell my girls, hey, I actually have no idea. Should we have a discussion about this? Or, hey, I have no idea. Let me research this later. Let me ask my mentor. There's so much more power in that. Like, people aren't looking for a mentor who knows everything and has years and years of an experience and is amazing in every single way possible. They're looking for someone that is a couple steps ahead of them, that sees them, that can hold them and be able to pull them through the struggle they're currently going through. So imposter syndrome only exists if you're trying to be farther along than you actually are, and you don't need to be. You can help people exactly where you're at square one, even with no experience, and just be honest about it. No one's going to give a fuck if, just
I think a
transparent.
lot of the times we're worried about what people are gonna think, and that fear of us, the fear of not being accepted for where you're at, we let that get in our way. So I think the way you explained it is really, really, really nice. Not only for the imposter syndrome, but for, like I said, it's freeing for everybody to start something new and be okay with it. It's okay to be new.
Yeah, exactly. And anything that you feel insecure about or you're worried someone's going to think something about it, just own it. Like, literally own it. I have so many girls that hold themselves back because they don't have the right like college education or the right certifications or like all of these like official documents to prove that they're something. And I just never struggled with that fear. I'll even have moms like get on the phone with me and they like want to pay for their daughter to be in my program. And they'll ask me like, do you have, what's your college degree in? And I'm like, I never went to college. They're like, do you have a certification? I'm like, no. And I just own it. Like, I'm just confident in it. I'm not like, no, but like this and that. And like,
We
I'm
try
just
to
like,
justify it.
yeah, no, I just fucking own it. I'm like, nope, I have no like official certifications, but this is why, I feel
That's
certified to
why
do what
I'm
I do.
grateful.
Yeah, you just gotta like own it. And so if someone's like, if you say, hey, you're my first client, and your client is like, oh, like, I need someone with more experience, be like, all right, cool. Like, I'm a fucking awesome coach, even though you're my first official client. But like, if that doesn't align with you, all right, whatever. You just
I
gotta
love
fucking
that.
own it.
I love that. And you'll attract the right clients by being 100% true to who you are. So you have a community and it's called the Confidence Collective. How does somebody kind of join that or be part of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Confidence Collective is my newest offering. It is my favorite place to hang out. We have like, yeah, over 80 soul sisters in there, and we just hang out in the Discord. We have tons of like master classes and challenges and guest speakers. We have a theme every month. You get access to like all of my trainings that I've ever done. And so you would just go to my Instagram and hit the link in my bio, and it should be the very first link in my link in bio. And you'll just sign up. It's $22.22 a month. Cancel at any time.
And you
Yeah.
can just access all that great information and be part of that community of people who are like-minded. So,
Yes.
that's awesome. Honestly, like that's one thing I've been considering too is to create a community. Right now, I'm super short on time. I still need to figure out where I could have time to be more active. Because obviously, I wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
want people to join a community that I'm not present in. But can you
Absolutely.
tell me a little bit more about your experience, how you got that started for people who are in the same place as I am, like that they would want to start a community, but they're just kind of not sure how that would work and how much time commitments they would need to apply to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the best thing about business is you make the rules. And so if you don't want your membership to be this community that you have to be really present in, then it doesn't have to be. Like, I definitely am
That's
pretty.
simple.
Yeah, like I am very present in my community, but I'm also not like in the Discord all day every day. My offer in my community is all of my master classes, and then I do one master class and then one extra event every single month. So I do a 2-hour master class with homework and journal prompts, and then I bring in a guest or we do like a special challenge or something, and we all like, I even have like a book club in the Discord, but I hire someone to do my book club, and I have one of the girls help me lead the book club. My assistant helps me with a lot of things. So really, I'm just showing up for the masterclass that I create every single month, and then putting together another supportive like event or bonus or something. Of course, if like the girls in the Discord need support on something, like I'm fucking there to like answer it. But
A lot of times they talk to each other and help each other out as well, right? Within the community.
exactly. Everyone is helping each other. Like I pitch in when I need to, or if someone tags me and is like, Maddie, help me with this thing. Oh, yeah. Like I'm with my morning coffee, typing on my phone. Like I'm there for my girls. But also, like, if you don't have the time and space to do that right now, and you just want to hold the space for others to create community, you can hire a community manager. You can or you can just say, my membership is you get a masterclass every month.
Oh, I love that. I love
Yeah.
that you just made this super simple for me. Thank you.
Or do you
It's like
want to
no
have a class?
excuses. It's like no excuses to not get this thing started. You can start super simple.
Exactly. You could even do one masterclass, one Q&A. So they do get that access to you and you're supporting them, but it's just for like an hour and a half every month. Do an hour and a half masterclass, hour and a half Q&A, and then yeah, let them do their thing.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for your help on that.
Yeah.
Now, since we are over time a little bit, so tell everybody your last piece of advice, and we already said where they can find you, but you can go ahead and repeat your Instagram handle again. But yeah, your last piece of words of encouragement for our listeners.
Yes, absolutely. I would say my last advice I would want to share is that your feelings and what you feel in your body is your inner compass. And if you can take inventory of everything in your life and follow what feels good and follow what doesn't. And what I mean by take inventory is every time you hang out with a friend, write down how you feel after. How do you feel energetically? How do you feel emotionally? If you spend time with your family, if you do a certain hobby or activity, different tasks in your business, everything that you do, take record of how you actually feel energetically when you do those things. And anything that's like a 5 and below where you're like, I do not feel good after that, run away from it. Don't do it anymore. Figure out how you don't have to do it anymore. Anything that's like a 7 and above, like incorporate that into your life more, whether it's working out or art, or it's a certain friend that just lights you up. Plan a date with them every single week. Use your inner compass of how you feel, because a lot of us ignore that. Like truly like listen to how you feel and let that be your compass for creating your life.
I love that.
Yeah. And then, yeah, again, my Instagram is Madi Maple, Madi, maple like the syrup. And again, like on my Instagram, you'll be able to see
I
everything
will
I'm up
link
to.
everything below as well. Sorry, a
Beautiful.
quick follow-up question about your last advice, because I know a lot of people struggle with, it's easy to stay away from the things if it's in your control, or the people if they're not family. But how about the people who have toxic family in their lives, and what would you advise on that?
Yeah. I think it's really easy to feel like there are things out of our control, but I really don't think there's anything out of your control. There, you can still control that. You can still set your boundaries. I have toxic people in my life that, I have had set boundaries for even like years that we didn't talk much, or, there might be certain boundaries that look like, say that you have like a toxic family member. Maybe your personal policy is that you only go to lunch with them once a month to maintain the relationship, but you don't like go to their house, right? So then it's like lunch, you meet somewhere in public, you catch up for an hour, hour and a half, then you leave and you go your separate way. You can still maintain the relationship without getting sucked into their energy. You can do a lot of energy work and cutting ties and put an energetic bubble around you. Like, even if somebody you're not able to completely remove them from your life, there are things that you can do in your control to
At least
really limit
your
that.
time with them, or limit your
Exactly.
interaction with them, or how much you actually listen to them.
Exactly. And if you really, really can't, that's okay. Focus more on incorporating the things that really light you up.
Oh, I
That
love
might,
that.
yeah,
To
that might
off
be more
balance the
important.
negative.
Exactly. It's like, right, 80% of your life should be 5s and above. And if 20% of your life, you're dealing with things that are energetically a 5 and below, that's okay. It's life.
We're human.
Yeah. But just be intentional and conscious about
I love that. I love that
what
so
you
much.
feel.
I'm gonna literally like sit down and think about that one. I've done a lot of exercises, but that exercise I haven't done to like number with the energy. I haven't done that, how people or things make me feel. But again, thank you so much for your time. I'm sorry about my voice.
You're totally
You've
fine.
been great. Thank you for being so talkative and sharing so much awesome knowledge. And I really hope our listeners check out your course and take advantage of your community and everything you have to offer. Like I said, I'm 100% believer that it all starts with your confidence and being aware of those things that could be affecting it. So thank you for the work you do for the people you affect and your time today with us.
Yes, thank you so much. I am like so grateful, and this was absolutely amazing. So yeah, anyone listening, I would love to connect with you. Let me know if you guys need any support. And yeah, I'm just so grateful. Thank you again.
Awesome. Thank you. We'll see you around in the virtual world.
Yes.
Bye.
I'll see you soon. Bye.
Thank you for listening. Please rate and review this podcast. Follow and engage with us on social media under the Yegi Project. And if you're interested in being a guest, email info@theyegiproject.com. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes.